Scotty Sprinkle, Race Face Digital. This one's for you, Cliff. I talked with Jonathan Hassler and Billy Scott, and they both said they kind of thought it would lean more into a tire wear race, and obviously that didn't happen. I'm curious for you, going back to yesterday, what were your thoughts after practice, and then coming to the track today, seeing the weather and everything before the green, what did you think the tires were going to be like?
I think all of us in the garage probably had a lot of speculation still. Certainly, the track conditions, the temps, and even really the pace of practice yesterday was just really high, really abusive on the tires for what those conditions were. Today we had a lot of direct sunlight on the track, so with that comes a bit more track temp. We had a fresh application of PJ1. It's crazy to think that the margin is that small between the tires holding up and having enough temp in them to activate whatever the juices are that makes it work out, and not shred them like it did yesterday. I don't know that we had a very strong opinion one way or the other, more skeptical, but Kyle and I both looked at the track a little while before the race and thought, if anything, it had more potential to take rubber today.
Zach Sternilo, NASCAR.com. Cliff, to your left. I'm curious, going off the tire thing, when you have a situation where you see the tires cording as much as they were, you're coming into this race weekend expecting one thing. Does that give you any sort of doubt? How much does that change what your preparation for the race is, and how quickly then do you have to adapt when you go 50 laps into the race today and see that that's not the case?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly had, kind of a two-part conversation around what it would look like for a rubber race. It wasn't a fully rubbered-in race, but certainly the tires made it. And then the conversation around what it would be like if it was a kind of a chaos-type race with a lot of tire wear. To be honest, our learning experience from last year, when it was the kind of the chaos race, was a well-balanced car was still going to give you the best potential to manage it on either side. So our focus yesterday in practice, even though we went really fast for what our run was and wore out our tires really quickly, gave us a great read on the balance of the car and a couple little things that we could just take into today, knowing that, again, either way the race could potentially go. We're just trying to set ourselves up for the best opportunity for longevity, for pace, for Kyle being able to manage the runs, with the tire degradation in mind. Certainly no right answer, but we were hopeful that a balanced car would present a decent potential for either scenario.
Ask you this question. We had this race a year ago. It was high tire wear. Drivers say that puts it in their hands, et cetera, et cetera. When you look at today's race versus last year's race, do you have a preference of what you want last year, this year, somewhere in the middle?
Go ahead.
I've led 860 something laps the last two, so obviously I'm going to be biased to this. I just think it's more fun. Like, we're still out there managing, our runs. So I don't know. I don't know. Last year was a very excessive. I mean, we were running maybe 50%, throughout a run. And that was too much. But then, today we're much closer to 100% every lap, but somewhere between 85 to 90%, trying to still manage everything, like me in the lead. Like, I don't want to get my stuff too hot to where when I catch traffic I can't pass lappers. So I think that's why Denny and I were still able to lap a lot of cars, is because we still did a good job managing our tires. Although it might be a little less wear, it's still a lot more temp related that you're managing. So I would obviously love it if it could still, like, the tire could lay more rubber and the pace would, the track would get slicker. Like with Xfinity, it gets really black, and when it gets black, it's just greasy feeling, and the pace slows down. Where when it's kind of a lighter gray, like it is, for the Cup cars we run here, it does keep it faster pace. So I would more ask for a tire that sticks the rubber to the track, because it'll have us sliding around more and like slowing down more.
Yeah, and I think my answer would be very similar. I just don't know that for the race that we want to see out of a race, that the conditions and the formula of what was the spring race a year ago is something that would be healthy from a racing standpoint. You know, to me today, man, you had lanes across the entire racing surface. You had guys slipping around. Go look at the right side of our cars, destroyed from getting through traffic and touching guys and fenders. We have donuts on the side of the car. Doing my homework this week, I watched the 2004 Bristol Night Race. One lane on the bottom. Rusty led him us the whole race until Rusty had a bad pit stop and Dale Jr. won the race. And there was no passes for the lead, not a whole lot of things that happened. There was no upper lane. To me, today's race, when the top two cars are within a second apart, navigating through traffic in every single lane that was available and bouncing off of lap cars, I know we want cautions and yellows for excitement, but from a racing purist standpoint, today's race was a heck of a race because Denny was coming. He put pressure on us. We knew it. We had to take chances. Man, that just presents such a good race from our seat. And to Kyle's point, when rubber starts to stack a little bit and you're sliding around, you know, you guys probably heard him call out one run. He overheated his right rear tire. Hey, man, right rear tire's starting to wear out some. That's great. That's what you want to see for the way, you know, it was all playing out today.
And if I could add, too, I think last spring we were all caught off guard by it, and we were all learning on the fly, you know, so that's why we were 2-3 wide, and, like, we weren't really sure what was wearing the tires out, what lane it was. Well, by the end of it, we all learned, you know, what was wearing the tires out. So that's why I think you saw in the first 25 laps today, the whole field was single file. Like, I'm curious if fans would have thought that was exciting if we just rode in a train for, you know, 500 laps around the bottom, because while running 50% and all still wearing our tires out about the same time anyways. So I just believe it's more exciting when you can let the drivers push and, you know, run closer to the edge of making mistakes.
I think that's a good point, and I don't think that had we had the same amount of tire wear today as we had from the spring race a year ago, it would have been anywhere close to that level of a race, because all we've talked about all week long coming here is, okay, now that we know it, you have to protect. So to his point, it would have very likely been a very, you know, slow single file lane around the bottom until somebody wears them out, you pit, and join back into the single file lane around the bottom. I think that's how it would have gone.